Okay, so we are on the final stretch. Hopefully at this point you are having some fun and finding success working your way through such a large tool set. Now, the last major component I want to introduce you to in this short introductory course is the concept of an actor. To keep it simple while also remaining more or less accurate, let's fit it into the world of a movie set. So far, we have a level, which we can think of as a blank empty space in which to build our set. The set itself is mostly comprised of static meshes, lights, and other non-moving assets. Now we are going to introduce an actor. Actors are made up of the same things that go into a level, but because they exist as a singular entity, it is easy to give them some simple life. We will start by dipping our toe in the water just so we can start to see what's possible. But as you advance your skill, you will eventually be able to make extremely complex interactive elements which can have far more than just a little life. Okay, so let's dig in. Let's start by ensuring our content browser is at the root level and that our filters are all disabled. Okay, cool. Now let's go ahead and right-click to create a new folder. Let's call this one BP_actors for Blueprint Actors. Great. Now inside that folder, let's right-click and select Blueprint class, then Actor from the subsequent menu. Excellent. Let's name it BP_lamp. Great. Let's open it up. Now an actor is a kind of container much like the level, so we will need to populate our lamp actor with some elements. In the content browser, use the search to locate iron torch. Once found, drag it into the BP lamp viewport. It's a little tricky, but with some finesse, I'm sure you'll get it. Okay, so now we have the torch in the actor. Great. Now let's go ahead and search the content folder for P_fire. Drag this into the window as well. You can maximize this window now as we won't need any more content from the browser. Now, the last element we will need will be a light source. In the Components menu, found here on the top left of the actor window, let's add a point light. Great. Now, you will notice some similarities to our normal level editor. On the top left, we have a list of assets related to this actor. This is similar to the World Outliner. On the right, we have a detail panel, just like what we will have in the level editor. We also have some new tools on the bottom left. These are for using Blueprint. Let's not worry about that stuff quite yet. Okay, cool. Now, let's go ahead and ensure our hierarchy is flat. It's easy to have them nest accidentally, so let's go ahead and make sure they're unparented. To unparent a nested object, simply drag it to the root itself and say attach. Okay, great. All my elements are now at the root level. Now let's go ahead and move our flames up where it sits correctly in the basket. Nice. Okay, now let's do the same for our light. This time I'm going to go a little bit above. Okay, perfect. Let's compile, save, and close the window. For now, just think of the compile button as a save to game button. When you make changes, you want the engine to pick them all up. You need to do both save and compile for that to happen. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and close this window for a moment. Now in the BP Actors folder, let's go ahead and drop our BP lamp into the scene. Feel free to replicate it a few times as your scene requires. Excellent. Looking good, huh? Now let's take one more step to give it just a tad more life. Okay, reopen the Blueprint lamp. Now click on the Event Graph tab. In it, we can program all sorts of things, and in this lesson, we are going to do something extremely simple, making the lights flicker. To navigate in the event graph, right-click and drag to move around. Use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out. Okay, so if we look, there are some rather useful nodes available to us right from the start. These starting nodes are called events. Events trigger actions. In this case, we will use the begin play event to get our lights to flicker. Let's first drag off from the event triangle on the begin play event node. This will allow us to call an action. Let go of the drag and search for the term delay in the resulting window. You should find a node called delay. Now the delay node will be expecting a duration input. Drag off that input and search for random and locate the random float in range node. Once found, set its values to 0 for the min and 0.2 for the max. Great. We now have a delay that will wait for a random duration between 0 and 0.2 seconds. Next, let's drag in a reference to our point light. Great. Now let's pull out from the point light and search for the term intensity. Now let's copy the random float node and paste it near our intensity node and set its min and max values to 900 and 3000 respectively. Now let's connect our delay node's event line to our intensity node. Okay, great. Our graph should look something like this. As we can see, we first wait for a random amount of time. Then we will tell our light to adjust its intensity to a random brightness. Now we just need to repeat that indefinitely. To do this, just drag off the end of our intensity node and plug it back into the front of the delay node. Now we have created an endless loop which will constantly change the intensity and the duration of time. Before we leave, let's set our light's attenuation radius to something a bit more practical. Let's set it to something like 500. While we are here, let's also set the light color to something a bit more orangish and fiery. Great. I think that should do it. Now let's save, compile, and close our actor. In order to see the actor run, we need to hit play as it only executes during runtime. Now you can see we have a nice believable light flicker. Pretty cool, huh? Without getting too deeply into the subject, we have one last task in order to finalize the light in our scene. We need to bake our lighting. If you look in the shadow areas, you may still notice that some of our shadows say preview in them. To bake our lighting, simply click the side of the build button and drag down to build lighting. This will take all of our assets and bake in the lighting information. As you progress, you will certainly want to delve into this topic, especially if lighting is a critical task for you. Okay, cool. Once our lighting is built, you should see your lighting improved and the preview missing from the shadows. If you move objects into your scene, however, be aware that you will need to rebake your lighting. Anyhow, you now have all the tools you need to get started in UE4. When tweaked just right, this lesson should provide you with a beautifully lit, high-quality scene. This is where I got mine to with just a few lighting tweaks. Feel free to adjust, add, and continue at your own leisure. Okay, so that is going to conclude your first hour in Unreal. Hopefully UE4 is a little less intimidating than it had been, and that you feel a bit more willing to delve in deeper. There is a lot to learn in here, and even after this first hour, we have yet to scratch the surface of what's possible. That said, you now have some chops to start digging in and not being lost in a foreign world. Thanks for letting me guide you into Unreal. It was a pleasure, and I hope to see you again in future tutorials.